your story was documented loudly because of how great you were on the football field. I mean, we were looking up pictures of you earlier, and the Texas highlights are obviously in abundance, but in the NFL, you still, I mean, all the way through, I think with the Ravens, you were still, I mean, you were a super talent in football. Do you still watch football? What are your thoughts on the sport of football and your experience with it?
Well, so back in 2004, when I walked away from the NFL, I had this moment where my whole life flashed in front of me. And all of the major scenes in my life were all attached to football. So it's a part of who I am. It will always be a part of who I am because I've put so much time and love and effort into it. I'm a connoisseur. So anytime football is on, I'm critiquing every single step of every single player. Can't help it.
Okay, so you still love the game, it sounds like. Still watch the game.
Yeah, it's in me. I can't, as much as I've tried, I can't take it out of me.
Have you been keeping up with the
hours, the hours and hours of watching film and listening to coaches talk. And yes, I have been following the running back story. And, I saw Saquon's interview, and I felt like I was in a time machine listening to myself talk, because I was in a very similar situation. And it's weird because from the football side of things, it's a business and there's a market. And based on from strictly business, okay, running backs, right? You can get them for cheap. If you spend too much money, they get hurt, and usually they think outside the box. And so they're not always easiest to deal with. So I completely understand. But from the running backs position, and I like what the running backs are saying right now, because it's true. Running backs, when we're young, before we get banged up too much, we're better. We have a higher value. And so I think if running backs, when they come out, demand more up front, and it's just known that a running back, if you're lucky, you'll get 5 good years. And then just because of the nature of the situation, right, they're not going to last very long, And so in the olden days, and Norv Turner said this to me, it was when I was going through, minor contract negotiations with the Dolphins, and this was the old school way of looking at running backs. Norv would say, he was talking about Eric Dickerson specifically. He would say, sometimes when you're young, you don't get paid what you're worth, but later contracts, they make up for it, But I think now running back is not such a valuable position, so we got to change the game.
That's an interesting theory there, business-wise, to kind of present it. It's like, hey, running backs, whenever you guys are drafted, you need to know that now is the time because you're going to be very valuable for this team because of how good you're going to be able to play over the next 3 to 4 years. After then, realistically, you're even saying that this seems like a good self-awareness case from the running backs as well, saying like, yeah, you do start getting banged up as you get older. You do slow down a little bit. That is a reality of the position because of how many hits are on a human body can only be so much. Could you imagine all the running backs that get drafted kind of go in their own little group and they're like, no, we're not fucking, that would be crazy.
I think it needs to happen. But the other part of it, I think from the running back's perspective, and this is just from my experience, and of course I'm biased, but for running backs to have the expectation, I'll play 5 good years, okay? And then I'll be ready to do something else. And if you get the money up front, you can start to make those plans earlier.
And if you go longer,
Tony Michel.
If you go all,
Tony Michel, it's a great example.
It's house money, you know what I mean? If you go longer than 5 years, it's like house money. Okay, if I play 7 years, 8 years, that's 3 years, 2 years, 3 years extra money that I just get to kind of play with. You said Sony Michel. Go ahead. I'm sorry, I cut you off there.
I'm saying Sony Michel. I think 5 years, and he decided to retire. I think this is the sweet spot. I think at 5 years for me is when I walked away. I think for a running back, if the target is 5 years, I'm going to get my money in those 5 years, and then I'm going to get ready to do something else. I think everybody wins.
So you only sign 2-year deals whenever you're a rookie. I think that's the way you get around it.
It's smart.
Because you wouldn't be able to say, hey, we want more money now with the draft, because all the drafts are slotted, basically, those contracts these days. So it would have to be like running backs only sign 2-year deals or something, which I think you could get all the running backs to kind of agree with.
Smart.
Could kind of get everybody in there. I think that'd be the easiest way. Hopefully they'll be able to figure it out because the position, historically, so many legends. And not that there isn't now. You see Christian McCaffrey, John Lynch just said like 2 days ago that whenever he was playing at safety, he felt like the safety position was an undervalued position as well. So he understands what the running backs are going through right now. And he said that we got a good guy that we're paying because we feel like he unlocked our offense. Is he a guy that you watch and you enjoy? Is there any other running backs that you think are up in that top tier that deserve a little bit more conversation? Anything like that?
It's tough because, in the moment when the running back is healthy, and I think this is the issue, right? We fall in love, right? We give them all the money. And then because the nature of the position, right? A lot of times they get hurt. And you build your whole offense around this one player. And now that one player is gone, the offense is kind of screwed. I mean, this is what happened to me in New Orleans. When I came back for my second year, we built the offense around me, and we won 6 games in a row. Okay, that 6th game, I break my ankle. The 10th week of the season, I break my ankle on my 1,000th yard, and we still make it to the playoffs. But Coach Haslett was pissed. He is stressed out. He was like, we built our whole offense around this guy, and now we have to go back to the drawing board and try to figure it out. So I get it, and as the game evolves, it needs to evolve. And so I think the running back position, it's tricky. And so I like watching all running backs that are in a system that allows that running back to do his thing. And I was very fortunate. I mentioned Norv Turner. And Norv Turner he's like an offensive genius in the passing game, of course, but the way he can scheme a run game, he just puts running backs in a position where they can be successful. When I led the league in rushing, he realized that I love to run the counter. So he found all these different ways to find what I do best and put me in a position to be successful. And I ran for over 1,800 yards. So to be in the NFL at a running back,
is that good? I don't know.
Really
16
talented.
games? 16 games?
Shit.
16 games? Is that good? I don't know. 1,800
It's
yards.
decent.
But I do believe that's true. And we have A.Q. Shipley, and I'm not saying that you would be wrong, but I'm saying I'm on the same wavelength as you. A.Q. Shipley, who played in the NFL, 13 years?
Yeah,
Yeah.
12,
Coach,
13 years or whatever. Offense lineman, center, undersized, short arms. This guy's got tiny arms. At center, he was knocked for that every single step of the way. New GM comes in, not having a center with tiny arms. Need to get that guy the hell out of here. But then he has a 13-year career, ends up a Super Bowl champion, does very well. He breaks down a lot of these plays that are happening now in the Shanahan offense in San Francisco. In Atlanta, I think with Artie Smith, this stuff's happening as well, where they're actually like setting up blocks for people with motions so that the block is easier to be made for the running back. Like the system is literally doing like 3 different things to help the running game. There's a few teams like that. And obviously the Niners are one of them with Christian McCaffrey. Atlanta, allegedly.
Yep.
Philadelphia right now. Hey, how do you feel about this new modern offense? And I believe the Wildcat, I don't know if you were down there in Miami whenever that was happening, but how do you feel about this new offense where quarterbacks are protected because they're being the piece that the teams are built around now, but also there's a lot of movement. Like Jalen Hurts, he's changing football in the NFL, I think, with how much success he's having. Lamar Jackson, we always thought was just going to be one of one, but like the offenses are changing completely for these guys now, Ricky.
Yeah. I mean, I'm old, so I was around for the early Michael Vick days. And watching and he really, I think, was the first one, there, of course, there was Randall Cunningham, but I think Mike was really the first one where he was a true weapon, a true offensive weapon as a running back. And it changes the game. I remember we played Atlanta, and on 3rd down, we couldn't do anything. Already 3rd downs are hard. When you have an athletic quarterback who can make plays, it makes the offense, when they're in rhythm, unstoppable.
Yeah. It'd be cool. We got a guy now.
Oh, yeah.
We got a guy, Anthony Richardson, this guy. Ricky, I don't know if you know this dude out of Florida. He's 250 pounds right now, probably running a 4.4, 4.5 at quarterback and can throw the ball like 75, 80 yards or something. It's like, that's exciting. Yeah. Holy shit. We got a guy at quarterback. It feels like the skill and talent at every position in every sport is kind of elevating as the years go by. Is that ever going to stop, you think, in football? Or do you think, have we reached a peak of football, like talent and greatness? Or what do you think the future of football looks like, Ricky?
Yeah, I think maybe there's a peak has been reached physically, but mentally, I think is infinite. And you could have players that have so much talent and ability, but if they don't have the mind to be able to understand the game and think and anticipate and be one step ahead, then they're not going to be able, especially in a competitive league like the NFL, they're not going to be able to manifest that talent. But mentally, and I think this is Tom Brady, right? When you look at Tom Brady, you don't think of his physical prowess, okay? But his mind and his ability to think and understand the game is what made him great. It helped him maximize his athletic ability.
Yeah. I wish I was able to figure out any of that stuff.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Mentally. Ricky, whenever you were playing, did you think like this? Is this
Yeah.
Yeah. Always? You've always had this mindset?
I was a mental player. I mean, for me, if again, I had the physical ability, but if my mind wasn't into the play, I mean, I would spend on Fridays, I'd spend hours watching cut-ups of the same play. Hours. Really trying to understand, okay, when there's a 3 technique, how might this play hit differently when there's a 1 technique? And so, that was really my game.